And welcome back, YouTube. This is Booster Box Buster here with another Wildcard Wednesday. Today's video is going to be kind of a continuation from a previous video that I did that talked about censorship in gaming. And I got thinking about it as to some possible solutions to this problem, specifically going on with the PlayStation camp. Before I start this video, I do want to mention something that I did not know in the previous video that I learned from somebody in the comments, and that's apparently a couple years back, Sony moved its PlayStation headquarters from Tokyo, Japan to California in the United States, which I think has a lot of I think that is a big reason that the censorship was started, because it did not start till after Sony moved its headquarters, and I gotta say, I think that that is a big reason why they started this censorship in gaming issue. But enough about that. Let's go on to some possible solutions that could help this, that could help reel this back sometime in the future. Solution number one would be if Sony were to ever move their headquarters back from California back to Tokyo. Now, I think that this probably has about a less than 1% chance happening, because usually when a company moves their location like that, it's a pretty permanent change, especially for someone as big as Sony. I don't see that one happening, so I don't think that that solution's ever going to happen. Why do I think that'd be a solution? If they reeled it back to Tokyo, I think that they'd be a lot more lax, especially with game developers in their home country, which is where most of the censorship is occurring at. And I do think that they would be just... I don't think that they would cast as wide of a censorship net as they do right now. Solution possibility number two would be for game developers to boycott Sony's platform until they reel back their censorship policies. Now, unfortunately, the companies mostly being targeted and hit on this issue are much smaller companies, so to the overall grand scheme of Sony, it probably wouldn't matter all that much. Now, what would matter is if all those companies that were only on Sony, if they don't have an exclusive contract with Sony, if they were to revert to Nintendo Switch or Microsoft, which I highly doubt would be Microsoft, so if they were, let's just say they're all reverted to Nintendo Switch for loyalty, just for the sole fact of not being censored, I think that Sony would take notice, but I still don't think it would be enough for them to reel back their censorship policy, because they would have the big-time games still available. You know, your first-person shooters, you know, your Call of Duties, all your EA Sports games, you know, I don't know what's big right now, Fortnite, you know, all those games would still be on Sony's platform, and they would not have any issue with this censorship policy. So, of course, I don't think that it would affect Sony's bottom line too much. So I don't think that that would be an ideal solution. Yes, it would hurt them some, but not enough for them to change their policy. Issue number three, or possible solution number three, is if places like Nintendo and Microsoft use the Sony censorship policy against Sony in a press conference. They say, hey, we don't censor our games, unlike this company. That, I think, would definitely stick right in the craw of Sony, especially if Microsoft did that. I think that'd stick them right in the craw. I think that they would really, really dislike that. Would it be enough for them to reel it back? I don't know. I still don't think it'd be enough for them to reel back their censorship policy, but it would definitely stick in their craw and definitely be something to get people talking about it, especially if Microsoft and Nintendo were to say something about it at E3. Oh, let me tell you, they would definitely not like that. Possibility number 4 would be... Now, this one is kind of a stretch, but I do think it could work, but it's going to have major ramifications. Would be if the game developers made a censored form of the game, however, made an uncensored form of the game in the form of cheat codes. If you were to enter in this cheat code, you could have an uncensored form of the game. Now, I think it would get past Sony's censors. However, once Sony found out, they would go to the game developer and probably demand them to make an update to delete that cheat code, or they would probably just sever ties with that game developer. So it would be a big risk for the game developer to do that. However, honestly, it all depends on how good of a relationship the game developer has with Sony at the time. I think that, like I said, cheat code for an uncensored mode, very risky idea. I could definitely see at least one developer doing this. I don't know. I obviously don't know which one, but I could see a possible developer doing this, and I would be interested to see how Sony reacted to that. Like I said, I think that they would either force them to put a patch into the game to eliminate that cheat code, or just completely sever ties with them. I don't think that Sony would like that too much. So that would be a big issue there. And let me tell you, that would be something that a lot of gaming news channels would definitely pick up on. They would definitely love to cover a story like that, let me tell you that. Possible solution number 5, and this is probably going to be the last one that I list here, would be if people speak with their wallets and just completely and make Sony not the #1 selling console for the next generation. If people don't buy Sony products and protest to this, and they are verbal about it, they say make gaming uncensored, or we will not buy Sony. If there's a big enough petition online, Sony will notice, and they will probably make a statement, reel it back a little bit, but they're still going to keep a lot of their policies in check. And then they'll probably say, hey, we made it partially, we revised part of our policy to make it a little bit, to give the developers a little more freedom, when in actuality it really didn't solve all that much. And then people be like, hooray, it's a victory for us, when really it's a victory for nobody except for Sony saying, hey, we did this. But honestly, I think that those would be the 5 possible solutions. Honestly, I don't see many of them really affecting all that well, except for maybe the if Nintendo and Microsoft promote the fact that they don't censor their developers, that they let the rating board do this rating for the game, and then as long as it is an AO rating, it's on their system. You know, I'm pretty sure that if Microsoft and Nintendo kind of attack Sony in that way, I guarantee you Sony would not like it and they might start making changes in. But I think that that's really the only way. The only other way is if they move their headquarters of PlayStation back to Japan. Otherwise, I think that this censorship policy is going to be in place for definitely the rest of the PS4 life, and honestly, I think it's going to be in the place for the rest of the PS5 life as well. And I am very, very not looking forward to that. As I said, if Sony keeps this in place, I will not be buying a PlayStation 5. Sorry, Sony. I loved the PlayStation 1, 2, and 3, and even 4, up till the censorship policy started to kick in. But I cannot support a company that censors its developers. It's like censoring an artist. Actually, on topic of that, I don't know if you guys heard about this, but I think it was art museum in Norway, I think? Sweden? It was a northern European country, I'm pretty sure, that removed an artist painting because it was too provocative. And all it was basically multiple headshots of a woman eating a banana, or multiple bananas. That's all it was. Yes, it may have been a little bit suggestive, but there was absolutely no nudity at all. There was absolutely, all she was eating a banana. Multiple images of it. Why does that need to be removed due to being too provocative? That's just ridiculous. You're literally censoring art at that point. Look at how many famous statues depict nudity in such ways. Look at how many famous pieces of art depict nudity in such ways. Why do you have to censor somebody eating a banana? It's just ridiculous. I mean, it's unfortunate that we live in such a world that we have to start censoring such minute stuff as that. Well, I think this video is about done. This has been Mr. Baxbuster with some possible solutions to help reel back censorship in gaming and censorship as a whole. Signing out.